Likkutei Behar, page mem, top of the second column. Okay, now the Rabbi explained the ava of achoisi, the way a person has to have this ava to reveal the hidden love within every single Jew. And Hashem says, open up a little, I'll open up a tremendous thing. So then he says, Rayossi, so he starts explaining that this is the level of Yidden giving Hashem parnasa. Right? L'shtabah b'gufa the malka, to become one with Hashem. And this is where we're up to now. Okay, so he says, to understand, okay, so the last thing he was explaining was that there's Neshamas Yisrael, and Torah down here is greater than Neshamas, right? So therefore, Ashi Misha Balakam v'tamud b'yadei, that if you come, what you're learning, it's good. So he says, to understand, Torah, so he says, why is Torah greater than the Neshama? Because the Neshama comes into a gashmistic body, right? So he says, but l'cheira, Torah also comes into the physical, like Inyan Tzitzis, Tfilin, Sukkah, so therefore, how does Torah get to Gan Eden? Torah deals with gashmistic things. How does Torah get to Gan Eden? So he says, now this is where we're up to. It says in the pasuk that Torah is called the bread of Hashem, just like physical bread, that a person is able to stay alive from. In order for bread or food to give you life, it has to be digested, right? You can't put it on your stomach or, and just get full that way. The same thing, Torah, which is the food of the neshama, it has to become absorbed within the spiritual soul. The shavah k'psara mamish, it becomes mamish, flesh and blood of the neshama. By dezeh, a nefesh toshav al Hashem. Then the nefesh could refer to Hashem, l'shtabah b'gufa de malka, to hug the body of the king, lias nivla b'gufa de malka mamish, to become one with Hashem. In other words, like this: there's physical bread and there's spiritual bread. What's the similarity between physical bread and spiritual bread? Physical bread, in order to function, needs to be absorbed and swallowed, chewed, absorbed. Otherwise, you have to digest it internally. He said the spiritual bread of Torah, which is called Hashem's bread, means for the neshama, it has to be absorbed with the neshama. What does that mean? In simple language, it has to become one with you. Somebody can learn Torah, do mitzvahs, but it's not them. It's not who they really are. So then it's very nice, you're learning, but it's not you. It's not absorbed within you. So then for the soul, you don't have spiritual food. First is his bread, to become absorbed within the person, and then it becomes lachmi, it becomes Hashem's bread. Okay, so bottom line is, the level of Rayossi, which meanwhile the Alter Rebbe is speaking the concept of parnasa, like Roya, a shepherd that gives parnasa to the flock. So he says the Jew has to have food in a way Torah mitzvahs needs to be digested. You become one with it. It's you. But the 39 primary categories of Malach on Shabbos, the Gemara says Sidur, the Pasnokim. It would be first 12, 13 malachas deal with the order of making bread. In order to make bread that should be fit for a person, to be absorbed in it, okay, now that the Rebbe is going to explain this beautiful, he's going to explain. There's 4 primary jobs in order to make bread. You have to plant, you have to grind, you have to knead it, and you have to bake it. then bread could become bread to become absorbed within you. In Ruchnius, the Alter Rebbe says, what is planting, grinding, kneading, and then baking? So he says, in order to understand Ruchnius, you need to understand first in Gashmius. Right? What is planting, grinding, what is all this? So he says, you have to know how it works in Gashmius, because from Gashmius we'll understand the way it is in Ruchnius. By the way, the reality is, it's like that in Gashmius because it's like that in Ruchnius. But the pearl, for us to understand in Aveda, we need to understand the tangible thing that we see, the way it works in Gashmias. You're sponsoring the class? Thank you. Avram Maradi is sponsoring the class for all good things. Another Rabbi Shimon Yochai. Very nice gentleman. Not you, him. Al-Derech Mashal, Shezer and garden Chito, when you plant a seed in the ground, or Nate in garden Pri Haaretz, or you plant a tree, right? So what do? You make a hole in the ground. Mechasim ba'afar, you cover it with dirt. You can't put seeds on top of a ground and expect it to grow. It has to be put inside the ground. You have to cover it. V'anirke v'nifset, and it germinates, as it's called in English, it rots. V'kerach hatzmeach hasher baris, then the power of vegetation that the earth possesses, matzmiach chita, grows wheat or paddy, similar to the seed that was planted. If you plant a wheat seed, you're going to get wheat. If you plant the apple tree, you're going to get apples. Now, so he's saying like this. You take a seed, a wheat seed or an apple seed, you plant it in the ground, you cover it. Now, when the seed germinates, the power of vegetation that the earth has makes it grow. It will make this grow into a wheat, and it will make this grow into an apple. Which means the power of vegetation is not limited in an apple or a wheat. It can make anything grow. This power of vegetation the earth has, is a general power, that when you plant a particular seed, it becomes the elevation. Okay? So therefore you have a general koyach of vegetation that the earth possesses. Based on that, when the seed rots, then they get together, because in order for the seed to get the power of vegetation that the earth has, it has to become completely bottled. No. Yeah, that's what batul means. It has to become completely nullified in the ground, then the power of vegetation can take effect.
No seed, the power doesn't mean anything.
Huh?
If there is no seed, the power of vegetation means nothing.
Correct. And if you have a seed without the earth, you also have nothing. But what's interesting, he says, the seed needs to rot. Then the power of the earth, which is the general power, take a battery for anything you put it into, is going to work accordingly. Okay. Where did the seed come from? The seed that you're planting also came from something from the ground, right? And it has the ability. The seed has the ability to grow things concealed. Then it became much lower than, like if this is an apple seed, there sure ain't no apple in the seed. So the seed came from an apple, but now it's worse than the apple was, but potentially has the power of the apple to make it grow. It still has a connection to the spiritual power that the earth has. When it rots and it germinates, the power of vegetation that's in the seed that germinates, it becomes but. In other words, like this, the seed has potential in it to make things grow. But when it germinates, it becomes bottle, then it becomes one with the power of vegetation that the earth has, and together they grow things. Then what grows from the planting of a seed is much greater than just the seed. You plant a tiny seed, out comes a big tree. Not only that, not only by wheat, like even by fruit, different tastes, different colors, different smell, based on the potential that the seed has. So this tiny seed, okay, that rots in the ground, has the potential for taste, smell, color, shape, size. If it's a seed of an apple, matzmiach tapuchim. If it's a shalanovim, if it's going to be a grape seed, matzmiach hanovim. He says, even though when you look at the seed, there's no taste, there's no color, there's no smell, there's no nothing. Yeah. It's like a tree. It's nothing. But the essence of the fruit in the potential is there in the seed. And in this seed, in the potential of the seed, is concealed all the powers of taste, color, and the smell of the fruit. It's extremely limited. Then you look at it, there's no resemblance whatsoever between the seed and the apple or the grape, whatever comes out. Therefore, it's able to become one with the the power of vegetation in the earth. That the potential comes out in all aspects, with the taste and smell, without any concealment. So in other words, what happens when you take a seed? Now he's going to explain what ruchnius. You take a little seed, it has a ton of potential in it, nothing openly connected to the apple or the grape or whatever it is. That's why most people will look at a seed, we wouldn't even know what type of seed it is. If it doesn't say on the package what seed it is, we wouldn't know. I mean, you're farmer with them, but most people, you don't see any connection whatsoever between the seed and the apple, the grape, or the wheat, or whatever. So what happens? The seed has the potential. Where did that seed get the potential from? From the earth that it grew from. So now the apple seed, the grape seed, which has no resemblance to the apple or the grape, you put it in the ground, you have to cover it with dirt. That's a very important part. You have to cover it with dirt. In other words, it's completely bottled, it's completely concealed in the earth. It germinates, it rots, and then it creates from its potential something that has taste and smell and color and texture and everything. So he says, all of this moshel is bein in a maskal ba'avedas Hashem u'v'teiros. Now we can understand the way it is in the spiritual realm. Why? Ki hinei ha'teiri chochmasi v'ritzeini yizbarach. What is Torah? The chochma and the will of Hashem. V'hu v'chochmasi echad chakim le b'chochma yadiyah. And Hashem is in this chochma one, not in our known level of chochma whatsoever. And then Torah, comes down, tzimtzum after level, after level, after level, until it comes mata, that Torah comes all the way down. Torah starts talking about agriculture and time and damages and liars and swindlers and marriages and divorces and everything that exists in the world. So this Torah that comes down here is extremely limited. Yet in the potential of it, it has everything. V'u'kamashal garden avzera bayaperi. It's similar to the analogy of the seed of the wheat or the fruit. Shenilkach mikar chatzmeach, that got its potential power from the vegetation, power of vegetation in earth, which is ayim mamish. Like it says, Maamar tatshay. Like it says, tatshay means may the earth sprout out vegetation. The Rebbe says tatshay is two words, eish and das. What does it say? Mimine eish das lame. It says Torah is the fiery law from Hashem's right hand. So when it says tatshay haaretz desha, it refers to Torah. Eish das. And the fruit that grows from the seed. Yesh miyayin, it's yesh miyayin, from a seed that rots. In fact, it says in Chassidus, even though only Hashem creates yesh miyayin, we cannot create something from nothing. But there's two Gashmistic examples that are similar to it. A seed in the ground which rots, become really iron, and then it grows out to be a big tree, is yesh miyayin. Or creation of a baby. The creation of a baby is yesh miyayin. You take a little seed of the father and the mother, and all of a sudden comes out a monster. Okay, there's still, it has the chayes ruchni in it. So once the fruit comes out, then you have taste and smell and color and everything. Mashenkin garden as in Israel, but the seed that's planted, it's so limited. If you eat the seed, it's tasteless. You're not going to eat an apple seed and taste an apple. Huh? Yeah, there's no taste to it. The apple is sweet and this is whatever, bitter or tasteless, whatever. But in the potential, it has an unbelievable power.
With the seed, there's a function of time. But the Torah, it's instantaneous.
That's because, first of all, Torah, generally speaking, is not instantaneous. There's Haveda of Torah. You don't become a scholar overnight. Even though they once asked a big Torah scholar, how long did it take you to become a Gaon? He said 5 minutes. He said 5 minutes? He said, yeah, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there. You know how much time we waste? A day in line, on the phone, whatever. You can become a scholar with that. I'm sorry. Okay. So he says, Kachal derech moshe Torah shenislab shebedevarim gashmim hachayis shebam metzumtzum ma'id. He says Torah that comes down here deals with the Gashmistic world is very, very limited level of Torah. That level of Torah is restricted in the Gashmistic thing it's talking about. Ki beganei na'elyin, which is the world of Bria. What is Torah over there? Me'idin sham chabade in sav baruch meir Torah and the Tainuk asaga sichlis. In Gan Eden, they're getting godliness in Torah. But hasagai hi ibechinis yesh miyayin gab medkeir de kol chachmi lechakim lechachmi yadir. Says like this: the Torah in Gan Eden, which is learned in a much higher level, they don't learn it in the physical aspects. Like we learned, the Chassidus gives a few mashalim for this. There's a famous Mishnah, kids start learning, Shnayim Eichs and Betalis. Two people come to Bezdin holding at the end of a talis, they're fighting over it. This one says, I found it. This one says, no, I found it. It's all mine, it's all mine. Okay, now how do they learn that in Gan Eden? There's no people there and there's no talis there. So Chassidus explains, Shnayim Eichs and Betalis, how do they learn in Gan Eden? We know Torah is called food, mitzvahs are called garments. Shnai Meichsim Metalis means two neshamas in Gan Eden are fighting. I did the mitzvah, this one said, no, I did the mitzvah. So they don't learn about a physical, gashmiistic, a person, gashmiistic, a talis. What are they learning? How do they learn that in Gan Eden? Two neshamas are fighting over a mitzvah. This one said, I did the mitzvah, and this one said, no, I did the mitzvah. This one said, I did 3/4 of the mitzvah. This one said, I did half the mitzvah, whatever. Or, in Gan Eden, there's another Mishnah, that's in Bava Mitzvah, in Bava Kama, there's a Mishnah, a machlik part of a chamor. Somebody exchanged a cow for a donkey. Okay? And then the cow gave birth. Now we don't know if it was before the exchange or if it was after the exchange. If it was before the exchange, it belonged to the owner of the cow, because the exchange didn't happen yet. If it, so how do they learn that in Gan Eden? There's a Yetzer Hara called a Para. There's a Yetzer Hara called a Chamor. Different types of Yetzer Haras. So in Gan Eden, they learn like that they exchange this nefesh shabamis for this nefesh shabamis and this and all, and whatever it is. They learn about nefesh shabamis that exists in the world. Relatively speaking, there's evil there too.
So the Torah is a seed that has to be germinated.
Correct. Now he says, "Masha'enke b'ridasa lamata," when Torah comes down here, nizgash ma'chein nira v'negesh ba'inyan atayna v'seichel elokus. Okay, you don't have any godly understanding when you learn Torah. Kim dinam v'alocha b'inyanim gashmi. Okay, what do you have? But down here you're planting the Torah. Down here is the seed of Torah. In Gan Eden, you have the understanding of Torah. Down here, you have the potential. But Gan Eden, the Torah you have is what the Torah you got. You're not going to get more than that. And that's the bliss of Gan Eden. But what happens down here when a person does Torah mitzvahs? They're planting the seed. So yes, the seed is rotten in the ground, and it's in the ground, and it's buried, and it's, it doesn't look very holy. Tasteless, colorless, nothing. Yeah? But this seed produces a whole tree, yesh miyayin. So therefore, Dafka Torah coming down in the Gashmistic world, i.e., planted in the ground, is the ultimate level of Torah's growth, that the person actually creates something from nothing. And the same thing, by the way, is with the neshama. Neshama Gan Eden is having a good time, but it's not going anywhere. It is what it is. What it is it. It is what it has. Neshama comes down here in a goof, nefesh shabamis, Yetzer Hara, all that garbage, and it still does Torah mitzvahs. Then it's planted, and then it grows.
They are better son than us.
Huh?
They are better son than us.
Yeah, but
We're suffering for future. They're already hanging by the beach.
there's a story. Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Gan Eden. He comes to Gan Eden, nobody's there. Yeah, nobody's there. Hashem comes to him. He says, "Oh, by the way, if you're hungry, Moshe, go to the fridge. There's some food over there." Moshe Rabbeinu opens the fridge. It's empty. Ma'am Hashem, there's no food. Also, Moshe Rabbeinu looks down. He sees Gehenim. There's a feast going on there. And they're cooking and baking and mefresk. They're having a. So Moshe Rabbeinu comes back to Hashem. He says, "I understand. There's no food in Gan Eden, and Gehenim there's tons of food." He says, "Look who's here. There's nobody to cook for. Down there's plenty of people to cook for." Or as they say, if you're going for the weather, go to Gan Eden. If you're going for the company, go to Gehenim. It's more company there. But by the way, even all joking aside, the Gemara says about Acher, Mutav de Ladaine, Veles Elama de Ose. It's worth for Acher to be tortured in Gehenim to come to Gan Eden. Even Gehenim is actually a cleansing, a purification process that makes the person more pure than they were before they sinned.
What is it sometimes called Achir, sometimes Achir?
No, Taisa says in the Gemara that with things Maamar said in the name of Achir is called Achirim.
So Achirim
Achirim is Rabbi. What?
Why is there should be an ayin and yesh should be a higher than yesh? Why does it have to be somebody?
No, from yesh to yesh has to be ayin b'emsa.
Right. Why?
Why?
Yes.
Because one yesh contradicts another yesh. My existence
Second yesh should be an element.
My existence contradicts your existence. And therefore, for me and you, two yeshes, which is two separate entities, to unite, there has to be bittul in the middle.
No, between I and I.
You want a practical example? It's not exactly an example, but it brings out the point very well. Little kids get the new technology much quicker than us. Correct?
Of course.
Yeah. They're probably smarter anyway, but it's not because they're smarter.
Our mind is.
Why do those kids pick up, or younger kids, pick up technology and us old guys, me. But me, yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, and the grandkids in the second get it. Yeah? It doesn't mean they're smarter. What it means is very simple. Our minds, the way we were brought up, are programmed to think a certain way. The computer age of thinking, the technological age, is a completely different way of thinking. Our brains are wired a certain way. To wire them to a new way is very difficult. Kids' brains are not wired yet, they're fresh. So they're wired this way. Our wiring contradicts this new way of thinking.
That's why the guy came Bobili versus Yerushalmi.
Yeah, that's why Rabbi Zeira fasted to forget Talmud Bavli.
I still have difficulty understanding the seed, the comparison of Gashmias and Ruchnias. Torah is a seed.
Down here, Torah is the seed.
Okay, very good. But it has to be germinated, it has to be rotten.
It has to be bittul, and then the Torah produces.
Torah doesn't germinate, does it? Torah doesn't.
Within the person it does. It deals, Torah is coming into Gashmiistic liars and swindlers. That's low for Torah. To deal with liars, cheaters, swindlers, what happens if this guy cheats this guy, Torah is lowering itself. But we're not done. He's going to continue. What happens in the Nimshal by Torah? What?